talk for a minute about President Trump's generosity. You know, I know he's never going to toot his own horn. He'll toot his own horn politically. He'll toot his own horn if he says someone came begging for money for their campaign, so he'll say that.
Mm-hmm.
But he doesn't talk about the private stuff. What can you tell us about his generosity?
Well, I mean, I know that no one wants to talk about it, but and I mean that, of course, the mainstream media would never report this stuff. But if you go back to like the 80s and 90s in New York City and the surrounding areas, the stories of my father-in-law and his generosity for people, I mean, some people he knew, some people worked for him and he knew they were in a tough spot. So it wasn't a loan. He would just give them the money they needed to, pay off their mortgage or whatever it might be. But I just mentioned actually on my show the other day, 2 stories. One of them is that there was a kids basketball team in the Bronx one year who he found out this basketball team was not going to be able to afford to play the next season, to get themselves new uniforms and everything. So he just said, oh, of course, I'll sponsor your team for a couple of years. So they got to play basketball and continue their basketball team. His car broke down one time on the New Jersey Turnpike, and some person pulled over and helped him and didn't ask for anything, but he had the driver get their information, and he, without ever talking to them again, I don't think, paid off their house payments.
Wow.
And you know what I mean? So those are the things you never hear about him. And he's very, very generous constantly, but he never wants anyone to hear about it. It is interesting because you're right, Steve. He's happy to talk about his political accomplishments and his business accomplishments, but for some reason, he doesn't want to toot his own horn when it comes to those. But all you have to do is spend a little time around him to know his heart and know his generosity and know truly who he is. And the people who really know Donald Trump know those stories and know his true heart.